vanishing of Summer Wells. We know that there's always been a lot more to this very interesting case and situation than there appears to be on the surface. And one of those things is, of course, Benny. Benny Keyez is his name. We still don't know that much about Benny. Good old Benny and what he's really been up to, but we can surmise based upon the evidence that's been showcased, and so on, that he knew an awful lot about the disappearance of Summer Wells, and that he was very closely, tied with Robin Lane. So something's going on, and we're going to get to the bottom of that. That's up next, JTC Channel. Thank you. April 5th, Summer Wells interview. This is why we are doing this, folks. We need to always remember the most important reason for why we really do this is to find to find an innocent child, to find Summer Wells, and get to the bottom truly of what really happened. I think everyone agrees on that aspect, and they kind of would see things the same way, that we all desire to get to the truth. The pressure has been immense on Hawkins County Sheriff's official office to figure out what happened to Summer Wells, who was reported missing in June of 2021. It was a lot to shoulder, quite a burden. We have a lot of missing children that we have not found. Almost 10 months in, and so much heartache, and investigators are not immune from hurt. The question of what happened to Summer Wells still has no official answer. There haven't been very many cases like this. I have never worked a missing child case with all these types of entities and agencies attached. His days are devoted to finding Summer Wells now. Every day I check the tip line and voicemail when I first get here to do follow-ups. The idea that she just wandered away and snuck off to go play or whatever she may have done is a viable option, he stated. People are probably tired of hearing that, but all possibilities remain. We are not completely eliminating the abduction ideas. So it's kind of a reiteration of what I spoke about earlier in the video. It just has some more commentary from the sheriff. So they've been working on this, around the clock and really put all their effort into it. But what's interesting is they've sent out all the caviter dogs, into the area and so on. And they even sent them over to Hawkins County Trailhead, to the trail over there. And nobody's returned any kind of scent of any kind of remains or, anything at all. And so the question really remains, especially for me, is where are detectives truly looking? And I know they've started to look officially into Robin Lane, and that's a very good point. But that's the place they should have been looking to at the very beginning, at the start. So where are the detectives truly focusing their attention? And so I appreciate you all being here, and if you can, just spread the word on this further. Get this out, get this out far and wide to the general public, as has always been reiterated, and get people to weigh in on what they think of the actions of the detectives thus far. And through your help, through your support, and through our efforts, we can get this case to be resolved very quick, and we can get finally answers with Summer Wells, because I know that's what everyone wants and wishes to see as the best outcome for this matter, is to have true, real answers on this. And I think that we are getting in that direction now. So continue to get this out there, and let's build the pressure dealing with the Robin Lane situation and what Robin Lane kept doing with those trucks, because that right there is It has always been a very much a real red flag, but also the fact that she was taking the trucks and letting Benny Keyez go off and do what he did, what he's always done, but actually using those trucks, that was fairly insightful. Let's continue to get the word out. Thank you. So, ever since this whole saga began, I've kind of reiterated and indicated as well in public that I felt that Benny Keyez has been involved all the way along in different ways, in areas where he did not, wish to disclose certain things. It says, did Benny Keyez in 423 Chase throw Candace under the bus? And I find it interesting because when you go to the article and you actually watch the footage, it does seem to indicate that they threw Candace and Dawn, and so on under the bus because Benny was with Robin Lane a lot, and I can't really explain that. I don't know why, he was doing certain things with Robin Lane so much. And of course, then we see this, not to forget it, and people are like, but it is spelled with a Z. Well, no, I've checked this, and he most certainly is in Shelby County, Tennessee. No question about any of that. And he's just done a lot of ridiculous nonsense throughout the case. He really, honestly has. And it wouldn't shock or amaze me at all that, and it is spelled with an S. He just likes to spell it with a Z, specifically for some of his promotions and things, because he's very, very outspoken with what he believes. He's always been very outspoken. But I've seen it, before with certain people, and when I look at this is where Benny Keyez essentially lives. This is right directly by kind of the makeup of the real address where he hangs out, at least most of the time. He either used to have a, top studio apartment at this complex, or he still lives in one now. And the way that he's acted and operated is very in line with that. This is a gated community, and so he thinks to himself, that he's one of the people, and he's out there in the public all the time, and that he has all the, answers and so forth. But I'll tell you guys, officially, for what I truly believe, I think Benny Keyez is, a grade A con artist. I think he's been involved with the Summer Wells disappearance for certain all the way along since it began. And I believe that he knows what Robin Lane did, is the bottom line I'm getting to, because the evidence really supports that. And I don't know how to explain it. And you can't really explain away the level of evidence that's come out on Benny as well.
And in the Station Full Day, this one, there's always...
he has all these pictures of Summer and some of the other victims on his social media page. He's always claimed, it's to help find missing children and so on. But again, the evidence doesn't lie, and it adds up ultimately to the fact that Benny has been lying, and he is hiding something from the public because of his close relationship, of course, with Robin, and what Robin may have done. I'm going to say what she probably did do, that of course involved the abduction of Summer. And what's interesting is he's gone to the truck a lot. He has indeed returned to the truck a lot, sometimes in his promotions, sometimes just in what he speaks about for whatever reason. And those statements and just his way of behavior doesn't lie. And we all know that the truck was driven all the time by Ethan Wise and by similar people. And Benny Keyez seems to be very much closely associated with it and involved. And I don't think there's any way that he can hide it now. He's been covering for Robin Lane. So thank you again. Please continue to get the word truly spread on this case. Let's get a lot more eyes on it, and let's bring it into the public discourse so we can understand how Benny Keyez and also Billy have been enabling Robin to do certain things this whole time, and why Benny would regularly lie, about the trucks, or at least would hide the fact that he had gone back to different people and talked about the trucks. He has multiple carjacking convictions. So in the end, I don't think that that's any coincidence. So thank you. A little more to come. Keep spreading the word, especially for the sake of Summer Wells. Thank you. So, and some have continued to ask, that they think that Benny has been involved in some unsettling things and so forth, but they don't really believe that he would be involved in, the abduction. And to tell you the truth, I was originally the same way. But when I looked into what has officially gone on with Benny Keyez, some of it was hidden, and I was able to pull that out. But a lot of it, they decided to leave that, they just left it right out in the open. And it's known now for a fact that Robin Lane, runs the FindSummerWells.com site. She's kind of the official webmaster, and she set up nearly everything about FindSummerWells.com. And here they are just, doing something that's just unbelievable. They say, an honorary tribute to Benny Keyez. Some think he is a wild man, but Benny Keyez is truly a best friend of my family. He is brilliant. Don will only be doing YouTube interviews with Benny Keyez from now on. Anyone else that wants to interview Don Wells will have to join Benny Keyez' show. He is now the arbitrator. The real Benny Keyez is 1 in a million, or maybe 1 in a billion. Thank you, Benny, for always being there for the family. Your heart and abilities and talents are absolutely endless. So there is basically Robin Lane bragging about the fact that Benny Keyez is so closely involved with all of this. And I've just been pointing out, pretty much since the very start, that we need to ask some very important questions about Benny Keyez, such as why he was there when Billy Dotson left the scene the original day when Summer Wells went missing. Why he was there with Robin Lane. Why he even joked about getting into the truck, apparently. Now, there's a couple of things where they, tried to kind of delete any records of them doing much with the truck, but a number of other key issues came out about the truck, and have since been revealed, and they've exposed the fact that Benny Keyez actually liked to use that truck for a lot of different things. And I've just pointed out, since the start, that we need to really ask some very real questions about Benny. Because there's no way Summer Wells just automatically vanished, except through the support of Benny Keyez. And it's obvious with the way that he interacted with the truck that he just kind of decided to look the other way. He may not have kidnapped anyone, but, just with his way of doing things and how close he is with FindSummerWells.com, all these things he brags about, I think it's very clear he covered up for them to abduct her. But, your mileage will vary. There's some that are still on the fence, but if you look at all the things that came out even recently with just bragging about how well Benny knew the area, I'd wager you're going to come to mostly the same conclusion. So the verdict is It's still out, but we're seeing a lot of interesting tips come in on Summer Wells. And so I appreciate, all of you continuing to spread the word, get this out there, and get this to the general public. Let's get people to weigh in on what they think about Benny Keyez and that whole scenario as well, especially after what's come out. So I've always felt that Benny Keyez is not being truthful, and that this guy, to have a name like Benny Keyez, that's interesting to start with. But I've always felt like he was truly hiding something very important. And when it comes to anything concerning Summer Wells, I think that's truly where we need to look. Multiple agencies have returned to the rugged terrain that surrounded the home in hopes of finding closure. Summer Moon Utah Wells should have been celebrating her 6th birthday last month, which was February, with her family at their home in northwest Tennessee County in Hawkins. It is something investigators keep in mind as the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and local sheriff's office comb through all available leads and new evidence that's come in on the tip line. Teams continue to search previously identified points of interest, looking for any sign of where Summer Wells has disappeared to. Investigators stated they were focusing on areas previously identified as points of interest in Beech Creek. The area is mired with extremely steep and dangerous terrain and a lot of interesting rumors over the years as well. Searchers have taken advantage of the good weather to continue searching all throughout the week. This is one of dozens of searches that have taken place, where we also bring out the caviter dogs, and there hasn't been too many leads or new leads uncovered. On Wednesday, search teams continued to take advantage of good weather, and they revisited points of interest in the Beech Creek area of Hawkins County. Summer Wells was last seen at her home in the Beech Creek community of Hawkins County on June 15th. Officials from more than 4 dozen agencies turned to the Beech Creek community and asked them to keep, their eyes out for Summer. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation stated that the disappearance of Summer Wells remains under investigation, but is quite bizarre, and there really is no true explanation for what's happened. While investigators do not have evidence that Summer was necessarily abducted, they do have a lot of other theories to work off of. They have interviewed known offenders in the area and ex-offenders. They have been following up on all vehicle descriptions and detailed VIN numbers throughout the day. One of those vehicles and cars law enforcement had tracked was the 1998-2000 maroon red Toyota Tacoma, which contained a full bed ladder rack and white buckets. A witness who regularly is in the area spotted this truck, bringing what appears to be some kind of fluid in the buckets all the time. So in other words, the truck that Ethan Wise and so on was driving quite often in this area was spotted with these buckets. And they literally spotted it on surveillance camera, bringing these buckets of what you could only assume is probably blood from victims and similar things, bringing that throughout this area and just continuing to drive around like, nothing was going on. Don Wells, Summer's father, has been convicted of multiple violent felonies and served prison time, including drugs and drug paraphernalia burglary charges in both Arkansas, Utah, and Texas state. These criminal charges are still on the book to this day. Summer's mother, Candace Bly, has a criminal record in the state of Wisconsin. Sheriff Lawson stated prior that he did not believe Don Wells' criminal history played into it, but he can't rule it out. The full number to call for information regarding the whereabouts of Summer is 1-800-TBI-FIND. Any additional updates will be posted on this thread, so be sure to get this out there. And Summer is described by the investigators as being 3 foot and about 40 pounds with blonde hair and blue eyes. She was seen wearing gray pants and a pink shirt, and she is believed to be barefoot right now when walking on this rugged terrain. Anyone who sees Summer Wells is asked to call 911. So some very interesting updates have been occurring, very recently in the Summer Wells case, and they are extremely important. So I encourage you guys, to get this out there far and wide. Get it out to the mass general public, so they can really weigh in on, this important issue. I feel like there were some certain key issues that were missed in this case, and one of the things that people have been talking about recently is, of course, Benny Keyez. Why Benny Keyez was always going out here in this kind of wooded area, and why he was hanging out with Robin Lane. And I've had certain questions about Benny Keyez, ever since this started, but there's some things that have been revealed recently that do tend to point to it being more than just, a game they were playing. Like he literally is a part of this and has direct foreknowledge, a cover-up of what has happened with Summer. So I encourage people to look very strongly at Benny Keyez, especially any of his new content that he's posted recently on Instagram and similar things. It's starting to reveal kind of a pattern, and I think that there's a lot we can take away from this and really learn from this case. So thank you again. More to come. This is a vital but very short update on the Summer Wells case. There's been new updates in the Summer Wells disappearance in Hawkins County, Tennessee. It was a lot to shoulder. It's a lot of a burden for everyone at the sheriff's office. We have a missing child on our hands right now. Almost 10 months in and so much heartache, yet investigators are not immune. The question of what happened to Summer Wells still to this day has no official answer. There hasn't been many cases like it. I've never worked a case or a missing child case involving this type of issue. His days are devoted to finding Summer Wells and finding exactly what occurred with her. My daily activities, I always check the tip line, then I check my voicemail, and I do phone calls and follow-ups on all the credible leads. There's a lot more leads we need to follow up on. And I go to my caseload briefcase and I go over all the leads of the new tips that came in from the prior week as well. Investigators have received 2,000 tips on the Summer Wells case. It is sporadic. One day you might get 5 leads, the next couple of days you might not get any, but it's been active in the investigation. The night she went missing, authorities stated she walked away from the house on Ben Hill Road. The wandering away or sneaking off to go play or whatever else may have happened is a viable option, certainly. People are probably tired of hearing all this, but the possibilities remain endless. We are not completely eliminating the abduction ideas, but there is nothing to lead us to believe it. In the height of the search, those on the ground combed through miles of tough, rugged terrain, forests, and long mountain trails with no traces or signs of Summer. They even brought out the caviter dogs, and they took them down the trails, and they still had not seen any kind of signs of Summer Wells since this time. She was exactly 3 foot and 40 pounds. She's lower to the ground essentially, but still we haven't seen any real tips come in as to her whereabouts. Surveillance videos and also GPS tracking and cell phone data hasn't turned up any real results yet. We have gone through reams and reams of the caseloads. We chased down every credible lead and every other offer that's come in on the other tip line as well. But Summer Wells is still missing. Self-proclaimed online investigators and sleuths have turned the case to a mess of ideas where they bounce different new notions off of each other. But this hasn't led to finding Summer Wells. although we are much closer to receiving true answers. That help, Pruitt states, has led to little more than a waste. However, we are having real breakthroughs in the case. He says the investigation has led to continued thought that if Summer Wells will be found, it will be near the trail. I believe she'd probably be close to where we last saw some of the other students who were trafficked in this area. Almost a year into the case of Summer Wells, and Detective Pruitt states it remains very active. I'm not going to let it go cold. We are 9 months in. I would hope that she is still alive, or that at least we find the needed aftermath to be able to bring resolution to this important case.